Extremely short.
So we ready?
It's
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, can everybody in the back hear me? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call to order the Jones County meeting of the Jones County Board of Appeals and Adjustments and the Jones County Planning and Zoning Commission. We're gonna have a little bit different order of procedure tonight because we have three items that have both a variance request and a conditional use request, so we'll hear them together. I won't convene one meeting and close it out and then open another one and go back and forth. We're gonna hear those items together. So that being said, the first, anything that deals with appeals, the decision that happens to, of variances, the decision that is made tonight is the final decision. This board makes that decision. Anything that deals with planning and zoning goes forward to the county commissioners. We make a recommendation as the planning and zoning board. The final decision on zoning goes to the commissioners, and their meeting will be sometime. June the 4th, thank you. So for any planning and zoning item, you would have a second meeting that would apply. First item tonight, which is A1 and P1, we have Tim and Jennifer Merritt. Oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make the motion.
To have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I apologize. Any old business?
no, ma'am.
All right, now, forgive me. We'll go back to A1 and P1 with Tim and Jennifer Merritt, who are requesting a variance and a conditional use to allow an RV as a temporary dwelling while the permanent dwelling is built. This property is located at 257 Bowen Hill Road, and it consists of 6.92 acres zoned Ag 1, which is agricultural rural. Is either Tim or Jennifer here? Would you come up and tell us, or y'all come up and tell us about your plans?
How's everybody doing?
We're good.
It's my wife Jennifer, Tim Merritt. Really not sure how these things work. It's our first time. Don't know how much you want to hear or how little you want to hear. We purchased 13 acres back in '22, subdivided it where we have roughly 7 acres. Our neighbors, the Chipmans, have roughly 6 acres. It was a raw piece of land. We spent quite a bit of money on developing the land, clearing it, getting the driveway accessible for vehicles. What we are requesting today, so we are members of the Jones County community, local members of First Baptist Church. My wife is an in-home nurse in the county. Her territory is Jones County. What we are requesting is the conditional use to live in a fifth wheel while we build. It's a lengthy process, expensive process. I have items here that show where we are up to date, pre-qualifications from Morris Bank, estimate on build from Allen Custom Buildings, waiting to get another estimate back from Merritt Construction here in town. We also have, what would you call these?
Well, we have our house plans also.
House plans
Just
already
received.
designed for us with what we want to build. We're just tweaking them at this point. And then we have 4 letters from neighbors saying that they accept and approve us being there. Our campers are, I would say, 1,500 feet off of the main road. The summertime, you cannot see them from the road. And yeah. So do y'all want to see any of these items that we brought, or?
Just a letter from the neighbors.
Yeah.
This was also written on the back of one of them. We had to go to split the property. We had to get approval from 2/3 of the property owners in Bowen Hill Point subdivision. And so we wrote them this letter because we'd already met most of them back in early 23 when we were selling the half to the Chipmans. And so we wrote them this letter because planning and zoning is going to be sending letters from what we were told to, not everyone, but ones. And just wanted to make sure that they knew, we weren't trying to be a hindrance to anyone, bother anyone by being in a camper. We want to be in a house more than anybody.
We have 4 children in a camper, so you can
We
probably
really
imagine
want this house built, but
how much we want a house.
we sent those to them just to see, you know, if our numbers down there, if they had problems, had any questions, concerns, they could contact us. If they were okay with us being in our camper, we also had a spot where they could put that on there, that, you know, that it didn't bother them, because we didn't know who this anonymous complaint was from, so that's why we sent them those.
So do you have a time, just as conversation while they're looking, do y'all have a timeline from your builders, or you're just still in the early stages of getting
So
feedback?
Hamrick is getting us our detailed estimate. They've had it for 4 weeks now. We're on the 5th week, so I would expect it sometime this week. Morris Bank is sitting on go. They just need that detailed estimate from Hamrick. And then there is, for the building permit, Hamrick just informed us, the other builder said nothing about an erosion test that we need to be able to get a building permit. So that is through Wildner and Associates out of Macon. So we've contacted them. There's a little runway there before they can get out there and do that test. We've already had the land perked, so really it's getting the plans back from Hamrick, deciding which builder we like better, modifying those plans to fit our budget, and then we're building.
So have they given you any kind of timeline on the actual building time? I mean, do they have like a construction
Of how
interval?
long it would take.
Yeah, construction
build?
interval estimate?
They average 6
6
months,
months.
is what they told us.
That's beginning to end.
Okay, is-
Never built a house, that's just. what-
How many square foot?
3,500. It'll be a finished basement, so 1 level with finished basement.
Which if anybody would like to see, we have our plans.
all right, so is there anyone else here who would like to speak in support of this request?
We as the Chipmans will speak in that support.
All right. Is there anyone here who would speak in opposition to this request? Yes, sir. Would y'all just give him a second? Would you come up, sir, and tell us your name and where you live, please?
I'm Lynn Duggar. I live at 148 Vale Drive, which is not too far from them. To say that I'm speaking in opposition to this is not exactly accurate. I understand what's going on here. There's just another side of this that I don't think has come out. We live in the area, the campers have been out there about 14 months. Had no idea when the build process was going to take place. I get it that materials are expensive. I get it that interest rates are high. I get that. But it's part of the build process. Nobody suddenly reported this situation. I think people live in the area have waited for a year or so to see some progress. And while there's been sheds built over the campers, improvements to the driveway, there's not been progress on building a house. We know that it's a violation of the covenant and the county ordinance as well to live in a camper. But I'm gonna tell you something. On the other side of this, I know what it is to have a place to live to build a house.
Mr. Duggar, talk to us, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
The
you.
house, my house burned in 2010. I had to have a place to live, and I wanted to live on my property while the house was being built. I got a variance at the beginning of the build process. So it took us about 9 months to build the house. So, and I guess a bigger problem I've got with this, nothing within the county system caught what was going on here. Nothing threw up a red flag that says somebody's starting a house, we're going to give them a variance to live in a camper to get this house built. It's been going on for 14 months. It should have been caught before now. I feel like it should have been caught in the permitting process, whether it was through electrical, sewage, or putting a well in. I don't understand. I think the county has a broken process, and I really feel like that needs to be fixed. I intend to address that at the June 4th meeting, county commissioners meeting. Again, I'm not like I say, I'm not opposed to somebody living in a camper to build a house. There's got to be a timeline. So that's my request, and I think if this is approved tonight, this board has to establish that. That's got to be crystal clear, and I also have questions as to what happens if the timeline's not met. So that's my question to you. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak in opposition or who has questions? All right, does the board have questions for the applicants?
I do. Where are you currently living at?
On the property.
Okay.
Would you step back up so y'all are at the microphone, please?
Are you aware that you're in violation of living on the property in a mobile home or in a RV? Okay.
Under the staff report, it mentioned 6 months to get started, 6 months. You guys are familiar with that?
Yes.
You're okay with that timeline?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, do I have a motion?
Okay, so my question will be, are we going to set a timeline? And if, in the staff report, it says 6 months, and then they can come back for another 6 months. Them already living on the property in a camper, one is against the county ordinance and the covenants, but they shouldn't be able to live there until they're building. Like, they're already in violation. So we need to set a precedence if we're going to allow them to do it. So this is our chance to make the right choice to, we have to establish this. Because they're not the only family affected, it's the other family also, and other people in the community.
So is that a motion?
I make a motion that the conditional use,
Can I interrupt real quickly, please?
Yes.
If we could take the motion for the variance first, and then
Okay.
we'll do a motion on the conditional use second.
Sorry.
Procedurally, if the motion for the variance gets denied, then the,
understood. Yeah.
thank you.
I make a motion to deny the variance. It sets a bad precedence for long-term.
All right, do I have a second? Motion to deny the variance fails for lack of a second. Do I have another motion?
I make a motion to approve it. And here we all are. Everything's on the table. Some things have been addressed that need to be addressed, and I think these folks are trying to do the right thing. I know folks in Jones County that have done this and probably haven't gotten any kind of zoning approval to live in a camper, to build their house. It's just, it's not like we're middle of Gray Highway or where they could be seen or off the road.
So that's a motion in favor of the variance.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of approval of the variance?
Aye.
So 3, 4, and 1 opposed.
Correct.
All right, so now, do I have a motion for the conditional use?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So 4 for the conditional use. So that the conditional use portion goes forward to the commissioners. The variance is approved here. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item A2 and P2 are Travis and Ashley Chipman. who are also requesting a variance and a conditional use to allow an RV as a temporary dwelling while the permanent dwelling is built. Property is located at 267 Bowen Hill Road and consists of 5.94 acres, zoned Ag 1, which is agricultural rural. So, Chipmans, would you like to come up, please?
Hello, everyone. We pretty much have the same kind of story that they have. We share a driveway. Our driveway, we go into one driveway, it goes down and around. But we also have another letter that was given to Travis when he works for Bug House in Jones County and pretty much services a lot of the houses in Jones County and a lot of them on Bowen Hill Road. So he has one of the letters, and it was Kevin Kirby, who is a GSP. So I'll give that letter to you guys. He signed ours and then also wrote a letter. We are also in the stages of, we are pre-qualified with Century Bank and Trust in Milledgeville for our home, and we have our plans and are getting together with Hamrick as well as Todd Allen to build our homes. We're kind of trying to do a 2-for-1 and trying to get it all done at one time because we did move out there at the same time as the Merritts. We really want to be in a house more than anybody understands. We have been living in a camper for a long time, and it's not something that we want to do, and it's not something that we really have thought that we would have had to live this long in a camper. So we are here today to ask for that conditional use and variance.
I have good friends who lived in a camper for 2 years building a house, and it was a lot longer than they thought it was ever gonna be.
Everything is always a lot longer than you think it's going to be.
Is your build timeline pretty much what they explained?
Pretty much what they explained, as far as 6 months to finish. We have gotten our plans back, and our home is a 1,500 square foot home. We only have one child. They live with 4 children in a camper, but we have our one daughter who goes to Turner Woods. And we are also members at First Baptist of Gray. I work for Ethica in Gray. I'm with corporate there, and I'm an RN. Worked with Lynn Haven for a long, long time and was manager over there before then. So we've been in this community for a while, and we don't mean any harm at all and didn't mean to upset anyone by what we have going on. We've tried really hard to be very aware and sensitive to other people around us.
Is there anyone here who would speak in support of this request? Yes, ma'am, would you come up, please, and tell us who you are and where you live?
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Chipman. I am the mother of Travis Chipman and the mother-in-law of Ashley. I just want to tell y'all that the plans and the ideas that these two couples have in establishing a home here in Jones County, it came from them wanting a good school system for their children. Jones County has a wonderful reputation of a good school system. These are two wonderful families who have come to your county to make it their home. I miss them in Baldwin County, where I am from. But I am grateful that they found a beautiful place to create their homes, to raise their children. These are two wonderful families that have been added to your county, and I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else in support? Yes, ma'am. Terry, you have that, the other applicants, these folks, or the Merritts are in support of the Chipmans. Mr. Duggar, would you like to speak again in opposition, or just say the same concerns?
My wife's telling me not to come back up here, but I just want to say the same thing. And I wish both these couples the best of luck. I understand it's hard trying to put all this together. I appreciate your response in not wanting to set a precedence. I appreciate that. I think that's very important. And the reason I say that, in the lot above where we turn in our driveway, it's a vacant lot right now. They're clearing it off to build a house. And according to you, it's okay if they pull a camper in there and just start living in the camper. I have a problem with that. So, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any others who want to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. Would you come up and tell us who you are and where you live, please?
Bill Garner, live at 145 Bill Drive. They're right behind me, back of the property. I'll echo what Mr. Duggar says, that they've been there for 14 months now. And biggest thing is about setting the precedents, because we do have a potentially problem property that Mr. Duggar was talking about. And they're clearing it with the hand tools by themselves, and are more than likely going to pull a camper or mobile home or something in there at some point, and we're going to have to deal with this all over again. So that's my main concern. The main thing is the time frame being 14 months in the campers, and really, I guess this should have been addressed way earlier than it is now. So that's all I'd like to say.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, questions from the board for the Chipmans? All right, do I have a motion for the variance, for or against?
I move to approve it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Double seconds. Any discussion, other discussion? All in favor? For the variance?
Nay.
Opposed, so 3 and 1. All right, for the conditional use, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 and 1 or 4 and 1?
Oh, I'm fine with the conditional.
Okay, so 4 for approval. So from a planning and zoning standpoint, it will go forward to the commissioners with a recommendation for approval. The decision for the variance was approved here.
Okay,
Okay, so thank y'all.
thank you.
Okay, same thing for item 3, A3, P3, Mr. Thomas.
Wineski.
Thank you. I was gonna take a shot at that.
Yeah, mine, it's a little more complicated, some of the other names.
He's requesting a variance and a conditional use to allow reduced building setbacks for a 285-foot tall cell tower, which will replace an existing 200-foot cell tower. The property is located at the intersection of Pippin Road and Monticello Highway, and it consists of 1.73 acres zoned Ag 1, which is also agricultural rural.
Yes. Thank you for having me tonight. As mentioned, my name is Tom Vineski. I work for Diamond Communications. Diamond Communications is the managing partner for Georgia Power. We manage all their tower assets as well as locations on their high-tension lines. So we've been working with Georgia Power now for the last 3 years. Before that, we've also do work for First Energy in the Mid-Atlantic, and we also work with Mississippi Power as well and manage their assets. So what we've been asked to do by Georgia Power is that they would like to take down the existing tower, which is currently there. It's a 200-foot tower with 2 microwave dishes on the top. They'd like to take that down and replace it with a taller tower, a 280-foot lattice tower. So the current tower is guide, which means it has the wires coming to the sides on the property. This will be a single support tower that will be 280 feet tall that will allow them to install the more dishes for the backbone of the Georgia Power grid system of communications there. The reason why Georgia Power needs to do this is they upgraded their frequencies for the microwave dishes from 6 gigahertz to 11 gigahertz, which means it just simply, they need a straight line of shot, and it's also to encompass the growth of trees in the areas. The microwave shots go many miles. That's one of the reasons why, although the trees around that area aren't significantly tall, they do get in the pathway on other parts. Georgia Powers also would like to install what they call their Southern Link system on the top. Southern Link is their internal communication system. It's push-to-talk radios that all the Georgia Power people use, but also the state of Georgia uses as well. So that's going to take the top spot on the tower. So, and we have also been contacted in the last 2 weeks by the Sheriff's Department of Jones County. And Sheriff Reese was kind enough to send in a letter as well. We are letting the Sheriff's Department locate their antennas on the tower as well for free. They're being located at the 200-foot level, which will give us separation from each of the dishes and antennas that they need there. It's our understanding that the Sheriff's Department is relocating their existing whip antennas from another tower. It's on a fire tower that's coming down. My understanding is that the sheriff has been told that as soon as the tower gets up, they would relocate their antennas from that tower. And as he states in his letter, which was provided to the board, it's going to greatly enhance public safety communication, including fire, rescue, EMS, and law enforcement, that will be uninterrupted and greatly enhanced. So that is something that we are working with the Sheriff's Department on as well. I do want to briefly go through what it looks like, how often people are going to be there, stuff like that. So with the tower itself, as I mentioned, the other tower will come down. If this is approved, the other tower does come down, and the new tower will be built in the same compound where it currently is. So the only expansion to that compound would be an additional 25 feet bump out on the back on the southern side. So that's away from Pippin Road and away from Monticello Highway. It's heading back towards the woods. It bumps it out an additional 25 feet. The footprint of it's a lattice tower, is slightly larger, which requires the bump out in the fence. The front part stays the same. Nothing impedes, gets closer to the front of either of the roads in that location. So we do have FAA approval for the increase in height, along with the crane that would be needed to put it up. So we have to get FAA approval for both the crane and the tower itself. We do agree to a 12-month clause that if the tower is ever not used by Georgia Power for any reason, it would come down, and it would be taken away from that area completely. So the fence itself is a 6-foot chain link fence. There is a 1 foot of barbed wire on top. That, again, the existing fence will be retained and then added on the back as well to match the existing lines there. There are no other public utilities that are used by the tower other than power and fiber. So we get fiber runs that go to the tower for landline communications. Most of it's with microwave, but at some point it goes into the landline and power. There's no water or sewer or anything in that regard. The tower itself, once it's about a 6-week building process, but once it is up, people only visit it about every 6 to 8 weeks, if that. They would come in an SUV. They would be there for a brief period of time, if at all. We do have our own maintenance crews that do weed control on both the compound itself, the driveway, and everything else to maintain that. So it's not Georgia Power that actually services that part of the tower business. That's what Diamond does as part of our contract with Georgia Power. So the main issue is with the bump out on the southern property line. That does put us 58 feet from the rear property line, and that is the one of the variances that it's part of the setback variance that we're asking for. That is the closest that we are to a property line, is that 58 feet. The new compound and tower would be 190 feet from the northern line, 157 from the east, and 123 from the west. One of the reasons why we're asking for a variance is this tower's been up since 1969. It's been there a very long time. It does need to be replaced, and it does need to be replaced with a taller tower that can accommodate Georgia Power's need for improved access to the grid. So that's the power grid. That's why we're asking that. They're trying to work within the existing compound and the existing footprint, which is why we're asking for the variance for those setbacks. I'm happy to answer any other questions regarding timing or what we are proposing at all.
Is the current tower a beacon?
No, it is not.
Will the new tower have a beacon?
It will. It's required by the FAA
Right.
because it's over 200 feet. They are directed towards the planes. They're not towards the ground. It's designed to hit the
But you can
horizon
still
line.
see them from the ground.
You can see them from the ground, yes, but they're not focused on
Right.
the ground.
Right.
Isn't there something about what color that beacon is that
White in
has
the
to?
day, red at night.
That's correct. It's white in the day, red at night.
We do have that in our ordinance, it's required.
Okay, thank you.
And that's an FAA requirement as well.
So there's no other tower somewhere nearby that could accommodate all of this without having to replace this tower?
That's correct. The thing about microwaves is they have to be in the same line. So part of it is it's an existing tower that's been there, so the path has already
Is
been set.
established?
And that's the main issue with that. And the adding, so we've gone from 2 dishes to 4 dishes, is what they're trying to use for the grid. So that's part of the issue. The nearest tower is I believe it's the Tillman Tower that was approved in the county. Doesn't look like it was too long ago. Looks like it's fairly new construction. That one is also lit. And that's about 3.84 miles away. So it's even further away than what we'd be doing.
Could you describe for us, please, any support structures on the ground that would help facilitate this tower, like control buildings?
Sure, there's an existing structure on the ground, that remains. That's gonna still control the microwaves from that existing structure. There are pad places shown on the plans in case any future tenant would wanna come. One thing that we do try to do as Diamond is encourage co-location. I don't think anybody wants another tower half mile away from that one, so that would accommodate any future carriers if they did come. However, we're only here for Georgia Power, and that we're just trying to build in the capacity if it's ever needed. So we'd hate for somebody to come in and say, there's no capacity on that tower. Well, there is.
Is there a backup auxiliary generator on the site?
Yes, there is.
And how often does it come on for routine maintenance or testing, or what?
So ideally, it's supposed to be a weekly testing for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'd have to check the exact time here. I can also get you the sound specs for the noise levels at the property line. It's not a very large generator. It's pretty much equivalent to a house generator.
I'm asking because I live next door to one.
Okay. How often does it come on for you? About every week?
Just about every morning for over an hour. But
Every
it's
morning?
a cell phone tower.
I'm surprised it's every morning. It's supposed to be every week.
There's no real rhyme or pattern to it, but if anybody was here that was familiar with it, they'd already know that a diesel generator comes on to test.
Yep. And it's about 5 minutes?
No,
Wow.
it stays on for hours.
They're burning through a lot of diesel by doing that every day.
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak to that. That's not the plan here.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Go ahead.
thank you. With the variance, are we past our setback, or is you're just asking because we're getting closer to our setback?
We have a full tower height setback, which they physically
Oh.
cannot meet with this
Right.
site.
Correct, okay, I got it.
And nor does the existing tower meet the setback.
Right, exactly, okay.
Is there anybody in the audience who would speak in support of this tower request? Is there anybody in the audience who would speak in opposition to this tower request? Does the board have any other questions? All right, do I have a motion for the variance?
I make a motion to approve the variance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the variance?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do I have a motion for the conditional
I
use?
make the motion for conditional use.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so again, planning and zoning
Yes.
goes to the commissioners, the variance is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we are now back to a planning and zoning request. Mr. Adam Bray is requesting a conditional use to allow an addition to be built onto an existing church. The property is located at 203 Elam Church Road, and it consists of 25.44 acres, which is zoned rural residential. Mr. Bray?
Good evening. My name's Adam Bray. I'm the pastor at Elam Baptist Church. And what we're looking at is we have an existing gymnasium. We currently have 2 trailers that has been there for have Ronnie Malcolm here, my deacon chair. It's been there for a long time, just as storage. We're in the process now of cleaning out those trailers, and what we're wanting to do in place of those trailers is build on an addition, and we have copies here of our plans. What we plan on doing is a 20 by 30 addition that will be built on, matching the existing building. That will be used for storage and also to help with our children's ministry we have there currently at our location. So.
Is there anyone here who would speak in support of this request? And you are, sir.
Ronnie Malcolm, I'm the deacon chair at the church, but yeah, but other than that, you can ask them again.
Anybody else? Anybody in opposition? All right, questions from the board?
What's your timeline?
We were told to come and take care of this first. Once we took care of this, we were going to start getting quotes. We do have one of our contractors here with us tonight. They said we can get this done pretty quickly. We have some members in our church who are willing to help provide materials as well that will help with that process.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
See you at the commissioners' meeting. Okay, we have an item for design review. Is that how I should describe it?
Yes, ma'am.
This was an item, this was something that we heard earlier, the bypass location, the former old vet's office that was on commercial, 2 meetings back, I think?
Yes.
Its location puts it under the design guidelines for the bypass, which you have a copy of. So that's why it's back, is the young man has got to make a site modification, and that does require a ruling adhering to the design guidelines. Tim has given you the reference for the page that it applies, and it's section 86.7.71. It talks about drawings, pictures, lots of things, site plans that we don't have. So technically, the application does not, at this moment, meet the specifications for what should come under this design review. But as Tim has said, and I rode by and looked, it's a small concrete ramp. It does not, it just, how long would it be, 3 feet maybe? Something like that, and he needs to take it down to level everything. So it's a demolition request of a small concrete ramp. It doesn't change the ground contours in any way, it just takes.
Does it affect handicap?
It's a hazard, it's a trip hazard.
Okay. As long as it has nothing to do with ADA, I'm fine with it.
Just know that it's not meeting the requirements under the design reviews, but it is a very minor site
Well, look
change.
at how much commercial business we have there. So, at least now we have somebody there, and the building is being taken care of, and grass is being cut. And
So we would vote to approve the request to, wherever it is, to remove the small concrete ramp. That's the decision.
I make a motion to approve the removal of the small ramp.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Is there any other discussion?
That's the motorcycle shop guy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, we are to the election of a new vice chair. Is that a nomination process? How do we?
Just open up for board discussion at this point.
Mr. Queen, who chose not to be asked, or chose not to reapply or to be reappointed, was the vice chair. He was formerly chairman of the Board of Appeals and Adjustments, as I remember, and then when they merged the boards, he became vice chair of the combined board. So with his loss, we need a new vice chair.
I hear church mice.
Teresa, am I remembering you were vice chair for the other board?
I was not.
Who was?
Well, Jan Andrews was the chair first. Mr. Queen was the vice chair.
Okay.
She stepped down. He became
Chair.
chair, but I don't remember
ever
Who the vice
replace
chair
him?
was, it wasn't me.
Okay.
It was
Well-
either Mr. Green, I think it's Mr. Green. Or maybe it happened, we weren't there very long before we merged with this board, so I don't even know if we ended up with another vice chair, is what I'm saying. I was never the vice chair though.
Okay. I just heard a rumor you might have been, so
I don't think so.
Would you like
If
to
I
be?
was, I don't know about it.
would you like to be?
I'll do it, but if any of these guys want it, they're welcome to do it.
I'm not well liked, so I'm not.
I don't have
good.
tenure, so I'm not.
As long as I have a script I can follow, if Earlene is not here, I'll be fine with it.
Hal, would you like to be vice chair? Teresa said if
I
nobody
mean,
else
do you
wants
wanna
it.
be it?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I would do it. I'm not gonna jump out in front of anybody that wants it more than me, because I don't. I would do it, I just put it that way.
I nominate Teresa.
I nominate Hal.
You vote.
Oh, wow, the pressure's on me, huh? I would, I'd make a motion to nominate Mr. Hal Creek.
All right, y'all good with that? So Hal, we're happy to have you, if you're willing to do this.
I'm willing to do it.
We'll put
Yeah.
Teresa as vice chair in waiting. How about that? All right. Comments from the audience? Comments from board members?
I have,
Well, if you're not here, I won't be here.
Okay. Anything else?
this is
Teresa?
about what they're wanting about, people want about the timeline. How are you supposed to know if somebody pulls a camper up, if nobody tells you they pulled a camper up? How are you supposed to police something like that?
Would take some proactive enforcement, be a bit of a paradigm shift from the way my department operates. People will call up and say, we need power because we're irrigating we need water for the pond.
Right.
So we're, got well installed, we're gonna be pumping water into the pond, we need electricity for it. And then next thing you know, somebody's pulled in a camper or a manufactured home and they're connected to that power pole. So they use that as a way to circumvent what we do. But even if we were to cap that, if they told the power company that they had a power pole for construction, they could get a permit they could get approval for a 60-amp power pole without even a permit from my department, so we wouldn't even know anything was going on. I don't know what
I mean,
happened.
Steve's right, people have pulled up campers. I mean, I know somebody lived in one for 5 years. And they're in a mobile home now, but nobody knew that.
We don't have code enforcement in this county, so, it doesn't matter.
I
If,
just,
I wonder why, if it was bothering the neighbors, they are the first line of observation, so I would wonder why they wouldn't come and ask, would be my take. I mean, if, I was listening to them say that it had been there for 14 months. Well, after 2 months or something, why would you not come and ask, is this legitimate? I don't know, instead of waiting 14 months and then being angry about it. To me, a neighbor should ask a question if they have a concern. But I don't think Tim's got the staff to be able to
Tim doesn't
ride
have the
this
staff
county.
and time to ride around the county and just see what's new.
No.
Well,
So-
Tim's not code enforcement though, so it's a different department. He takes care of part of it, but it's not his baby to, the county has funds for having code enforcement, but they're allocated elsewhere. That's been a big gripe for me.
My understanding that, unless there's a complaint lodged or something like that, nobody's gonna look into it. If there's a complaint lodged, then yeah, that's the red flag that's sent up and check it out. It's usually, that's handled.
So, new guy on the board, any comment? Newest guy on the board?
I don't suppose there's any merit in publishing an article in the Jones County paper in regard to what this is about and why should not.
Ignorance is bliss.
Of course.
I don't know, maybe Debbie would do a series on, these are basic things you need to know, because I know in Monroe County, there was a big to-do about people who were doing exactly what these folks were doing, because land up there started to sell, and it's large tract land, and people are coming in with really nice, RVs. And the friend that I mentioned did that, she was down in Statesboro, and they bought a large tract of land, they pulled in a really nice RV, and it did take them 2 years to get their house finished. And Monroe County got 6 ways from sideways about that, and then they finally backed up and said, at least the last thing I heard up there, that they backed up and said, this is something that we need to review, and whether they did it as, or consider, whether they did it as conditional use or a variance, I'm not sure, but I noticed that all the travel trailers on the big tracts of land are still there, and the houses are slowly starting to appear, but it's just,
Not to mention all the burned dominiums that's coming out.
yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Tim?
We had a text amendment approved, now it's a permitted use in the ag district, so that'll probably reduce what you guys see by 75%.
But
As far
it's-
as anything to go forth in the Jones County paper, with that, any results for?
I think, now, I don't think so at this point. You could still ask for it in about half the county, maybe a third of the county, but that'll be coming back to y'all, so it's a little better on the public now. I
Okay.
think
Those people will be back, because that old man's not gonna see that other piece of property, see the same thing happen. He's not gonna let somebody pull in a camper or an RV or any of that, and he's gonna be back, and he's not gonna wait 14 months, I guarantee you.
I'm sure Lynn would appreciate being called an old man. Any other comments? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?